At that time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well-wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolts. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:8, the Lord descends as an incarnation to deliver the devotees and kill the miscreants. The Lord of the universe and of everything would appear to kill the sons of Diti because of their offending the devotees of the Lord. There are many agents of the Lord, such as Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Goddess Durga, and Kali, who can chastise any formidable miscreants in the world. The example of mountains being smashed by a thunderbolt is very appropriate. The mountain is considered the most strongly built body within the universe, yet it can be easily smashed by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to descend in order to kill any strongly built body. He comes down just for the sake of his devotees. Everyone is subject to the miseries offered by material nature, but because the activities of miscreants, such as killing innocent people and animals or torturing women, are harmful to everyone and are therefore a source of pain for the devotees, the Lord comes down. He descends only to give relief to his ardent devotees. The killing of the miscreant by the Lord is also the mercy of the Lord towards the miscreant, although apparently the Lord takes the side of the devotee. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his activities of killing the miscreants and favoring the devotees. So, the basic principle being discussed in this verse and purport is that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sometimes descends into this world for the sake of his devotees, but he also has many agents with which he can carry out his activities within the material universe. So these agents are described as persons. So you have a cosmological situation in which the universe is created by conscious control on the highest level, and it is inhabited by a hierarchy of beings who are organized to act in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this conception of the universe is quite different from the conception that you will hear about if you, say, go to a university and study modern scientific subject matter. There, the basic conception that is presented is that matter is the ultimate basis of reality, and matter transforms automatically according to certain laws, and as a result of an evolutionary process of transformation of matter, personalities are produced in due course of time. Mainly this requires a lot of chemical reactions. So after many chemical reactions occur over billions of years, you have the evolution of persons who can then observe the universe and finally come to an understanding of it. So these are the two contrasting pictures of reality. From the modern standpoint, the idea that the various forces of nature are personified by actual conscious living beings with will and different limbs and organs and so forth is very much out of fashion, let us say. It's a concept that does not at all fit into the modern conception of things. Yet, it is possible to draw on both modern scientific ideas and empirical evidence to support this picture of the universe. So I thought I'd just say a few words about that. We don't have too much time for the class today. Recently, just a couple days ago, I gave a lecture up at Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Massachusetts. That's up near Boston. And this was part of a symposium that some students were organizing. The students, it seemed, were hoping to enlarge their educational opportunities a bit. They had heard about many far-out topics, such as evidence of ancient civilizations going far back before what is accepted in their academic courses. And they had heard about UFO entities and all kinds of far-out things of this nature. So they had organized a symposium to basically go over some of these topics. So as it turned out in the end, it was a slightly disorganized symposium, but there were two speakers. One of them was this fellow Stanton Friedman, a nuclear physicist who has given about 600 lectures to the effect that UFOs are real. So he's a person with what you could call nuts and bolts persuasion. He believes that UFOs are actual spaceships coming from another planet. And he hopes that we can reverse engineer them and figure out how to build such things ourselves. So that was his perspective. But what I did was basically make a case for this hierarchical picture of the universe that you find in Vedic literature, using modern scientific material as the basis or foundation for making that case. So the basic presentation was to first of all present some anomalous evidence. Essentially, I presented anomalous evidence in three different categories. The first anomaly that I presented was consciousness. It's interesting, consciousness has become a topic of controversy among scientists in recent years. There was a book by a philosopher at Tufts University named Daniel C. Dennett entitled Consciousness Explained, in which he tried to eliminate consciousness from the picture. But there was quite a bit of rebuttal to his book. Some people said, well, this is just consciousness explained away. So recently in Scientific American, a fellow wrote an article which is actually in response to Dennett, but it's very interesting that it got published in Scientific American, which is very much a mainstream scientific mouthpiece, you might say. But anyway, the essence of the article was to say that we really can't understand consciousness in terms of patterns of material elements. So this makes it an anomaly in a very fundamental sense, because the most fundamental principle of science as it exists today is that everything can be understood in terms of patterns of material elements. You have basic elements such as atoms and molecules, and if you put them together in a certain pattern, you get different manifestations of phenomena in the universe. And that's the sum and substance of what exists. So everything can be explained in terms of patterns. But this fellow was arguing in Scientific American that consciousness cannot be explained in terms of patterns. So it's a total anomaly. It just doesn't fit into the picture. So that's one observation. The next observation is that we really can't account for where the patterns come from. I gave some examples showing how the theory of evolution doesn't work. Scientists will try to account for the very complex patterns you find in living organisms by evolution. But it doesn't work. It is perhaps possible to explain some things by an evolutionary process, but there are many different systems of organs in the body, especially on the molecular level of living cells and so forth, which you can't explain on the basis of evolutionary theory. So that's another anomaly. So then I touched on the UFO topic, which was very prominent in this symposium. The students wanted to hear about this. So I pointed out the connection between the UFO phenomenon and paranormal phenomena. Now, this is something that is not found in the typical university education, but there is a vast body of material concerning what could be called the paranormal. Basically, in the context of Vedic literature, what this refers to is subtle dimensions of reality and the mystic siddhis. Just to give an example, there's something called prapti siddhi. Actually, recently in Folio, I looked up Śrīla Prabhupāda's comment about the pomegranates from Afghanistan. He actually said it. You can find it in Folio if you like by looking under pomegranate. I think there are 2 references, and that is one of them. So, anyway, Śrīla Prabhupada said that a sort of guru or instructor that he had when he was young said that his guru was actually able to use this mystic siddhi called prapti, and he demonstrated it by reaching out and taking some pomegranates from Afghanistan, which then appeared there in the room somewhere in India.